Advanced canola trait technology is here. And it's soon to be the talk of the town. Optimum Glide delivers excellent yield potential and agronomic trait performance. Improved crop safety. Enhanced weed control. And a wider window of application. You're going to want to see this. Learn more at OptimumGlide.ca.
It's time for RealAg Radio on Rural Radio Channel 147 on Sirius XM. RealAg Radio and RealAgriculture.com is your home for insight and analysis of the issues that are impacting your farm business. Let's get real and get connected with RealAg Radio.
Hello and welcome to this August 31st edition of RealAg Radio. I am your host, Lyndsey Smith, and yes, it is Thursday. It is time for the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada. I am pumped. I absolutely love the show. We're going to travel from two spots in Ontario, actually. Hop over to Manitoba, my home province, and zip to Saskatchewan. Then we're going to hop all the way over to Alberta to talk to Mr. Doug Moisey of Pioneer Seeds Canada. And Doug, of course, is likely a very familiar name and voice for many of you, as he has been around a while and always has some great stuff to say. So he will be on at the end of the show talking about what he's seeing in the fields, what you need to be scouting for, and I'm sure going to be asking him about swath timing for sure on that canola crop. Okay, so as mentioned, yes, it is the Farmer Rapid Fire. We do this every Thursday here on RealAg Radio. And if you would like to be a part of the Farmer Rapid Fire, we always love new voices, new places. You can drop us a line at Real Agriculture across social media. You can send us a DM. You can tweet us. You can, do we call it tweeting anymore? It's still tweeting. You can send us a Facebook message, Instagram. We're everywhere. Or you can call that feedback line 1-855-776-6147. Hey, you can zip me an email, lsmith@realagriculture.com if you would like. And yeah, we'll get you on the list. It's really, we really do appreciate it. I want to make a key point here. Every single time I call a farmer to do this, I am always so appreciative that, you know, either they take the call on the combine or on the tractor, or they stop what they're doing and pull over for 10 minutes so that we can have this conversation, because I really do think we all learn a little bit about what it's like to farm in different parts of Canada, and also maybe that a lot of things are the same, and that is sometimes comforting too, to know. And we get to know each other a little bit, and I think that's pretty cool. So would love to have more of you on the Farmer Rapid Fire every week. Here, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada, of course. Okay, so we're going to get to the show as promised. We're going to start in Ontario, work our way west, and end up in Alberta. But not before we, of course, head for a break, and I'll be back with our first stop. We're going to be chatting with Drew Spoelstra out of Binbrook, Ontario.
This is the sound of a farmer with a clear view of their fields and finances.
As is this.
And this.
Crop planning, profit reports, budget, cash flow statements, all laid out clearly with Ag Expert.
To view from inside the combine or in the field, projecting what's next.
Get valuable perspective anywhere you are. Ag Expert, farm management software built for Canadian farms. Visit agexpert.ca to get started today.
What were the issues in your fields this year? Did you do a soil sample? What is your soil sample telling you about some of the nutrient issues that you might be having going into next year? What herbicides did you use? What residues you might be concerned about? What weed issues did you have? What crop residues did you have? How well do you know your fields?
Get the answers to all the questions you have about your pulse crop at the Pulse School on RealAgriculture.com.
Introducing the all-new Zerion 12 Series tractor by Kloss. Redesigned from the ground up to redefine the high-capacity four-wheel drive market. With 653 max horsepower, industry-leading hydraulic flow, a silky smooth CVT, a powerful TerraTrack undercarriage, and a quiet, comfortable cab with 20% more legroom. more than just power. The all-new Xerion by Kloss.
Welcome back to RealAg Radio here on this Thursday. It is the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada. We head now to Binbrook, Ontario. We're speaking with Drew Spoelstra. Drew, how are you?
I'm doing fine, Lyndsey. How are you?
I'm doing well. What's keeping you busy this week?
Well, we are getting ready for fair season with the horses. Got lots to do on that end of things. We're still building our new dairy barn. That's well underway, and it would be nice to see it a little farther along, but it is what it is. And we're trying to make some dry hay, which has been a struggle of my life this year.
Amen, brother. Okay, let's back up a little bit. It is fair season. You're right. What kind of horses do you do? Heavy hitch? What's the goal there?
Yeah, this is our first year hitching on our own 4-horse hitch of Clydesdale horses, and we're going out hopefully to have some fun and maybe win a couple ribbons.
That sounds pretty cool. It is probably my favorite sound at any fair is when the hitches start coming to the ring, and it's just the jingles and the hooves and the creaky leather, and it is just amazing. And then they hit the ring, and oh my gosh, it's amazing to see. So good for you. That sounds very brave. I don't know that I would ever even try with 4, let alone where they go to like the huge hitches. Very cool. Now, is the dry hay challenge and the dairy barn not being on track somewhat both related to it never not raining?
A little bit, yeah. We actually had pretty good luck getting started with the barn before the rain started. We were really dry this spring, got our footings in, walls up, and everything else. But labor's been a challenge, and not so much materials, but definitely labor's been a challenge to continue things along, but we are moving in the right direction. The progress is slow and steady. As far as the hay, definitely rain on and off all the time. It seems since about the 3rd week of June. It's we thought we had a clear week a week ago. Cut a bunch of hay down. The next day the weather changed, and we made most of it into baleage. So. Mm-hmm. It's been a struggle all the way along. I cut another bunch 2 days ago. Last night we got some more rain, so we'll try and shake the water out of it today and see what happens.
Wash both sides. See how it goes. Yeah, exactly. Definitely a frustration. Definitely a struggle. Now, I'm going to guess you're going to have enough, but are you going to have enough of the quality you need?
Yeah, we've certainly got lots of feed. We got our dairy cow feed off in good shape early on, and some of our horse hay, we got it off in decent shape early on as well. But, the rest of it's just going to be filler. It's certainly not the quality we want to see.
So for those who haven't heard the story, you're building a new dairy barn. Is this a huge expansion? Is this an update? What's sort of the impetus behind the new barn?
Yeah, heading towards expansion. Obviously, in the dairy business, you can't expand very fast, but certainly moving towards the future and trying to build something better than the current tie stall we're in, and 5 or 6 different barns in the winter that we have to keep dry and bedded and keep animals fed. We'll have everything under one roof pretty well, and moving towards robotic and new technology for feeding as well, and lots of other different things as well. So it's moving forward to the next generation, which I guess is me, and just updating things as well. So it's a nice expansion for us, and looking forward towards the future.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. I hear you on the doing chores in 5 or 6 different barns. I got to tell you, what are you going to do with all that time when you're all under one roof? Do you have huge plans for like doing crossword puzzles or something?
I'm pretty sure my time will be gobbled up by meetings.
Yes, that happens too.
And 3 little kids. Right?
Mm-hmm. There you go. All right. Although I can already see them seeing the big feed alley and going, I could ride my bike in here.
Bikes, scooters, and everything else.
Everything else. That's what kids do, and that's what makes it fun. Okay, so for those who don't know where Binbrook is, whereabouts is Binbrook?
We're in the southeast corner of the city of Hamilton, right along the edge of the Niagara region.
Okay. Now,
so about an hour from Toronto.
Now, you do farm in the Greenbelt. Is that right?
I do, yep.
Okay. So we have questions, and for anyone who's been listening to the show for the last while, of course, the Greenbelt has been in the news. We don't need to talk about that so much, but people have questions about farming in the Greenbelt. Does it change anything for you? Like, you own this land. How does the Greenbelt work if you're farming in it?
Yeah, so the land we own is all in the Greenbelt. We rent a lot of land also in the Greenbelt. We rent land that's outside of the Greenbelt, including future development land. For us, it really didn't change anything. The Greenbelt came in 2005, as a way to protect some land for agriculture, but also as a way to support, trail networks and biodiversity and environmentally sensitive areas, those types of things as well. It probably has had some effect on the value of the land for development potential down the road. Obviously, land that's closer to development is going to be more valuable than land that's protected and maybe not developable. But, for us, the value of the land that we own has still skyrocketed. It's too expensive, really, to buy more land for farming. So, in a lot of ways, it really hasn't held anything back.
Mm-hmm. When you rent land in the Greenbelt, is it only year to year, or can you secure multi-year deals?
No, we're able to secure multi-year deals without trouble.
Okay, cool. That's definitely one thing that's sort of been a question that people have asked, is if it, creates uncertainty, or perhaps more certainty, which is one of those things. So awesome. So thanks for that. If anybody else has questions, go ahead, Drew.
No, I'll just say that most of the land that's owned in the Greenbelt is still owned by, former farmers or people that live on the land as well. So, in that respect, it's it's a little bit easier maybe to do business with those folks than huge corporations or land speculators, that type of thing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right. In keeping with our Farmer Rapid Fire traditions, and that is, there is a question of the week. Last week's was a little soft. It was about farm dogs, but pretty good. I got some good feedback on it. But this week's a little harder, so sorry about your luck. But this week, I want to know, if you had to go in today and get a loan, and you can choose whatever in your imagination what it is, would you choose variable or fixed rate today? Fixed? Okay.
Yeah.
And would you go
100%.
1 year, somewhere in the middle, or 5 year?
I think right now I'd be tempted to lock things in for 5 years. It's just there seems to be a little too much uncertainty going forward, and that's kind of something I'm happy to be certain about. Even if it is a little bit higher rate right now, at least I know what it is, and I know it's not going to go up for the next 5 years.
Yeah, I got to tell you, this is not a fun one. And let's just hope it's not something you're actually doing today. But I like how decisive you are on the fixed.
We talked about the barn earlier, right?
That's right.
You can imagine how many documents we've signed in the last little while.
I absolutely can. I am glad to hear, though, that you haven't had to wait on supplies or on lumber or metal, because that certainly was an issue not that long ago. But of course, you need the people to put the barn up, so that's definitely a concern.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right, Drew. Thanks so much for this. Good luck at the fair. Send pics.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, all right.
Some pictures.
Okay, thanks so much. All right, take care.
Take it easy.
All right, we head over to Chatham-Kent, Ontario next, right after this.
Did you know that Pioneer now has a full lineup of Enlist E3 soybeans? Take a look at Pioneer brand Enlist E3 soybeans for the highest yield potential and for the best agronomic package and herbicide trait options. From the lab to the field, Pioneer brand Enlist E3 soybeans are the best in beans, period. Ask your local Pioneer representative about Enlist E3 beans.
There's a reason we call it the Corn School. Videos on everything from planter setup, weed control, field trial results, yield strategies, and so much more. The Corn School on RealAgriculture.com has the information and advice you need to help you succeed. Brought to you by Pride Seeds and BASF, Corn School episodes are available at cornschool.com, from realagriculture.com, or as a podcast from your favorite streaming service. Download the latest podcasts today.
Hi, I'm Bernard Tobin, host of the Soybean School on RealAgriculture.com. Throughout the year, on the Soybean School, we'll bring you timely agronomic video content from planting to harvest, from the latest agronomic research to the latest in production technology. Check out our massive video library on YouTube, RealAgriculture.com, or download the audio podcast versions wherever you get your podcasts. The Soybean School is brought to you by Pride Seeds, BASF, and Syngenta Canada.
RealAg Radio here on this Thursday, August 31st. It is the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada, and I am your host, Lyndsey Smith, and we head now down to Chatham-Kent. We're talking to Mark Huston. Mark, how are you?
Not too bad. How are you doing, Lyndsey?
Well, I'm doing fine. I have a question. How's the hog industry treating you?
We're all right. It could be a lot better by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, it's up and down, but I mean, our hog operation has been shrinking over the years, so we're kind of down into those last kind of small phases. So not as big as a lot of the other guys that you might get the chance to talk to.
So you're not nearly as worried per se, because you're sort of in the winding down of the hog venture over time.
Yeah, like we haven't invested in the hog industry quite as much as we have the grains and oilseeds industry, and that's kind of where our growth has been kind of forecast for the last, 10 years or so. And so gradually, as our operations are kind of getting a little bit more tired, and some of this struggles with hook space for abattoirs, it puts a little bit more pressure on the decision to either get bigger and kind of secure some of those spots or kind of wind down, and we're probably closer to the wind down stage than we are to the scaling up stage.
So I think you can just say that you made the right call at this point, because it sure seems that way.
It's the hog industry is so finicky and so tough to have long-term success in, given the cycles that are so prominent, and the scale of it is big time challenging too, right? You're dealing with only a handful of processors across the province or the country now, given where some of the hogs from Ontario are having to migrate it. It's a challenge, and I don't know that we've got a whole lot of optimism in the industry to kind of be able to overcome some of those. We've got hopes and promises of some of those new processors getting bigger. Conestoga's been talking about expansion for years, but has just never kind of gotten to that next step. And until that happens, like, we've got old facilities that are getting older. We've got hog operations that are getting more and more tired. We've got stress being placed on us from outside markets. And then you've got what's happening in Quebec. It's not a lot of great news, but I mean, if you're trying to buy feed, I guess you're in a little bit better position this year than you were last year. So I guess that's the upside.
I was going to say, if that's your glimmer, you're reaching, Mark. I'll be honest. You're reaching. So now, just quickly, for those who don't know, because sometimes Quebec is like, well, it's a whole other country, and not everybody pays attention to what's happening there. But in Quebec, we are seeing that there is a move to actually buying out some of the hog producers there.
Yeah. Well, with the announcement from Olymel that they're going to be scaling back as prominently as they are, you have to, right? And so it's been a number of years since we had, I think it was the federal hog buyout back in the kind of mid 2000s. It's been a while since we had that kind of an industry buyout, but we're also dealing with a lot fewer players than we were at that time too. True. And so a lot of the smaller producers have already kind of taken their notes and exited. And so you've got these bigger producers that are kind of focused on economies of scale, and the economies of scale really aren't there as prominently as they used to be.
All right, let's switch gears and talk about happy stuff. How are the crops looking?
Yeah, it's an odd year here in southwestern Ontario. We had a really super dry stretch going into kind of ahead of wheat harvest, and then wheat harvest was delayed by, I'd say, 3 weeks because of rain, and then trying to get stuff done in between and since then has been a struggle for us, especially. We've seen flooding that we haven't seen in August in my memory. We've got kind of extreme weather events blowing through almost weekly, but where the crops look good, they look really, really good. And where they don't look great, I mean, I've seen worse. So, I mean, it's going to be an interesting year as far as what kind of the yields are going to come out as, because I don't think the yield maps are going to be consistent to the most previous years we've had. The sandy farms look great.
Which isn't always the case. Yeah.
Some of the lower spots, there's not a whole lot growing there. So.
Yeah. It's a pond. It's a duck pond.
Yeah. Well, and it still is. Like, we're almost into September now, and I've got water laying in a lot of my fields still. And these are well-tiled fields. And that's just not normal. We've got rivers we had a river, the Sydenham River was over its banks in August. And normally there's times when that river, if you're taking a canoe ride down, it's impassable in August. This year, not so much.
You got plenty. So now, I've certainly seen some photos from around your area. You know, you've got like standing water in the corn. As you mentioned, you know, you've got rivers that sometimes almost go dry, not dry. Which one are you most worried about just on your farm? Are the beans going to be okay? I worry a bit more about them than the corn, or are you more worried about your corn?
Yeah, I think the beans are going to be a little tougher. But when we look at kind of when beans historically want some moisture, it's now. And so we've been getting the rains through August. Our dry spell was ahead of corn's traditional kind of moisture needs. So we got some pretty decent roots down, but the low spots are bad in corn and beans. But the beans, there's spots that just don't look as promising. But then the other spots, they look phenomenal. So
yeah. And are you experiencing way down there, just like around here? We've got corn that is so green, and our beans are too, looking a little behind. Are you seeing the same sort of phenomenon there where the corn just hasn't seemed to chug through maturity?
No, I think we're all right for maturity. Looking around, there's some fields that have already dented, which is early for us.
Okay.
We've had enough heat this summer that I think we're going to be all right. Looking at the forecast for this week, we've got a really warm spell coming over the weekend. So that's going to, I think, move things along pretty quickly. But as far as pushing off into a late harvest, I'm kind of banking on it being a relatively early harvest for soybeans and corn to get started. That's the hope anyway. It always is.
Well, you are in the banana belt, so...
Well, you get to pick where you get born into. Right?
Yeah, you totally do. Yeah, 100%. No, but it is an interesting part of Ontario, let me tell you. Okay, Mark, we do have, of course, our question of the week. And so today, if you have to make the decision, you're taking out a loan. Do you go fixed or variable on your rate?
Do I have to take out the loan?
Yeah, it is completely pretend. So yes, pretend you have to. What would you choose?
And how long do I have to fix it for?
Well, so that's your choice. So if you fix it, how long would you fix it for? You have up to 5 years. That's where I'm cutting it off.
I don't think our interest rates are done going up right now. So it all depends on the rates too, right? If you can get a fixed rate that's pretty close to a variable rate right now, I think we've got room to probably see another couple quarter point moves. So if you can get a fixed rate for, a couple years that's, within a half point of your variable, I think fixed is probably the way I'd go on some of my loans. I'm not sure. The challenge is with the amount of dollars we're dealing with in agriculture, to run the risk profile on either side full tilt is a tough sled.
So the good news is you don't have to take out a loan today. So that's the good news.
Well, that'd be very good news if I didn't.
Right. I'm in the same boat.
No, within agriculture, it's a constant cycling of loans in and out. And
exactly. Yeah.
I just wish I would have been able to fix more a couple of years ago when I wanted to.
Same here. hindsight is 2020. But in fairness, they did rates increase so quickly, so high, so quickly absolutely. That I think there are many of us that sort of got a bit blindsided by it. So no shame in that. All right. Okay, Mark, we're out of time. Thank you so much. Good luck with harvest. We'll talk to you again in a few weeks.
Thanks, and have a great day.
All right, we will hop over to Manitoba here on the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada, right after this.
Does your N stabilizer contain an active ingredient load high enough to be agronomically effective? If not, it could be costing you time and money. If you're putting down a nitrogen stabilizer, put your trust in Koch Agronomic Services. Solutions like Super U, Tribune, and Anvil. Each delivers high active ingredient concentrations that low-rate products just can't match. Compare how imitator products stack up to agronomically effective solutions at defendyourn.ca.
Infuse some energy into your next corporate event, customer meeting, or conference with RealAg Radio, Canada's national agriculture radio show. Create a unique experience at your next event with host Sean Haney, broadcasting RealAg Radio live on SiriusXM, featuring exciting guests, captivating interviews, and the latest news from the agriculture community. Contact advertising at realagriculture.com or call 587-787-1795 to book your on location with RealAg Radio today. Welcome back to RealAg Radio. I am your host, Lyndsey Smith, and the Farmer Rapid Fire is brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada. For more than 90 years, Pioneer has developed and tested products to meet your local challenges. With new Optimum Gly canola, Enlist E3 soybeans, to performing corn products and industry-leading traits and technologies to maximize your yield potential, Pioneer's on-the-ground teams can help you get the right products for your fields. Visit pioneer.com/Canada to learn more. Joining me now on the line, straight from the Combine Cab, we've got Jeff Elder. He's out at Wawanesa, Manitoba. Jeff, how are you?
I am good. I'm a little tired, but I'm good. We're rolling along in harvest. Had a good stretch of weather, and the crop is coming off very nicely.
All right. What are you into right now? Are you into the wheat?
Yeah, we are. With any luck, this will be our last full day of wheat. Like I said, it's coming off quite nicely on what I thought was very little rain.
Well, and very little rain is relative, we know that, but it has been dry, so how dry was it?
So we had just under 5 inches of rain on the crop, which some people will think, wow, that's amazing you got that much, but I feel that's like half our normal rainfall here.
Yeah. So then it all comes down to A, what was there when the crop went in, but B, how much your soil can hold, and then C, when it fell. So with only or less than 5 inches, when did you get that rain that you think it's actually helped out?
Well, old subsoil moisture, I think, to start with, was the biggie. We had a few showers, one big rain in June, which I think quite a bit of ran off. We had close to 2 inches, but it came in like half an hour. And then after that, we've got thunderstorms passing through 3 and 4 tenths at a time. Just a few times. One end of the farm would get a rain, the other end wouldn't. Very hit and miss. That's how it went everywhere, I think, in this area this season.
Yeah, I think so too. So hopefully, fingers crossed, last full day of wheat. What'll be the next crop to come off?
Well, looking at the soybeans adjacent to where I'm working today, I think that they will be ready. It's an early maturing variety. It's dropping leaves like crazy, and I suspect I'll be changing concaves and going into that early next week. Our canola needs at least another week, probably 10 days. But everything is moving right along. All those heat units we had in May and June really brought the crop along. So everything's maturing a few days earlier than I would say is normal.
Yeah. Now the beans, so of course we saw in Manitoba last year quite a few beans matured before the canola, which was a bit backwards. But you did mention this is a short season variety. Do you tend to go super short on the beans, or do you have a couple different maturity ranges that you try out?
I usually try to go with a couple of different maturity ranges. I avoid the long maturity varieties. I just don't feel that's worth the risk. I've had really good luck with the short and medium season varieties performing really well, and farming's risky enough. Why make it harder than it needs to be?
Amen. That's true. And I mean, let's face it, you do have to use your average frost date, first frost date, as a guideline, and Manitoba does not have the longest season. So I think that's wise.
No, and average is just means there's been earlier and there's been later.
That's right.
So
yeah.
You decide. You decide. You want 10% risk or 50% risk?
Yeah, for sure. Now the canola, you said a little later, but I mean, doesn't sound late for average. How did the canola fare so far this year?
Canola was a complete opposite to last year. Last year, it ran into every obstacle, like every insect and so on. It was a real struggle to keep it alive. This year, I think a few headlands were sprayed for flea beetles. Grasshoppers were an issue in every crop, but so that isn't specific to canola. But the canola has come along really nicely. It enjoyed the heat. July, when it was flowering, actually was cooler here than normal. So hopefully that bodes well. And we'll see. I don't know of anybody that's been into their canola yet. I see a little bit coming off around here, but I haven't talked to anybody to know if it's any good or not.
Yeah, no, I haven't really heard yet either, so definitely early days on that one, but still. So now, certainly this is keeping you busy. Absolutely. Are you thinking, we've covered soybeans, wheat, and canola. What else do you have in the rotation, or is that it?
No, we have 4 crops, and so our malt barley was in the bin, I want to say 10 days ago, but,
nice.
One day to the next is a bit of a blur.
It's a blur, yeah.
So I'm busy trying to market that, need to move some, before we move on to some other crops. And then, so canola and soybeans to go once the week's in the bin.
So malt barley, did that come back into the rotation, or did it never leave, or is it relatively new?
I don't remember a year we've ever not grown barley. Maybe 20 years ago, maybe there were some seed varieties in there, but I've consistently grown malt barley myself for 15 or more years. It's done quite well for us. I don't see a lot of it in our area.
No.
Kind of pockets. Certain farmers have luck with it. Other people, they had a bad experience 25 years ago and they never want to grow it again. But I tell those people that are looking for that second or third or fourth crop in their rotation. Try some of the new varieties. The research and the breeders have done a fantastic job with new varieties of malt barley. Most crops have fantastic new varieties, but malt barley, the new varieties, they yield extremely well, they stand well, they've got good disease packages. I don't know why I'm telling you all this. I'm going to have a bunch of competition, but...
all right. Well, but it's also very hard. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there you go. I was going to say, but it's also very hard to grow. Please don't try. Okay. So I am asking everybody this week a tough question, but it's make-believe, so it's okay. But if you had to take out a loan today and you had to decide fixed or variable, which way would you go?
How long term?
So if you choose fixed, you can say either 1, the 2 to 4, or a 5. But 5 is the longest you can go.
And what's the differential?
No, you just
There's
have
a lot
to
of
choose.
details here.
Exactly, there are.
Okay.
Yeah, but just on gut.
Less than 5 years, I would probably go fixed if it's a favorable rate.
Yeah. All right. Okay. When you'll have to listen to the whole show to find out what your peers said. But I'll give you a hint. I think you guys are all on the same page. Let's put it that way. All right. Jeff, we are out of time, but thanks so much. And, yeah, I mean, what else have you got to do with your driving the combine, right? Just chat on the phone. Keeps you awake.
That's right. No, it works for me.
All righty. Okay, Jeff, take care. We'll talk to you again.
Thanks, Lyndsey.
Okay, we head from Manitoba all the way to Swift Current, Saskatchewan. On the line, DC Jensen. DC, how are you?
I'm doing good, Lyndsey. How are you?
I'm doing well. Now, Speedy Creek, not known for being super rainfall-y, if you will. Totally a technical term. How has the season gone for you?
It's been exactly how you described it. Not much rain at all, so it's dry.
And how dry is dry? Because I'll tell you, DC, we've got listeners from all across Canada, all across the U.S., and dry is relative. But dry in Swift Current is dry. So how dry is dry?
Yeah. I mean, there would be parts of the farm that didn't even get a couple inches of rain during the growing season, that dry.
Wow.
There's a couple spots that got more than that, but yeah, it's been dry since seeding, really.
Yeah. So now you were in the combine yesterday. So what's coming off this week?
Yep. Right now we're taking off Durham.
Okay. And how's it looking?
Not great, but I mean, it's to be expected. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Better than 21?
In some spots, yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Other spots maybe just as poor.
Yeah. Around there. Yeah.
Yeah. So that would line up with very much what we sort of heard, or what we are hearing, that, you know, some areas not as bad, but certainly not as good as 22. So certainly some really hard hit areas for sure. Now, what else do you grow when there's in such a dry area?
Lots of pulses, so lentils, chickpeas, peas, and then we rotate canola and barley as well. But yeah.
Okay, that's a lot of
pulse
crops.
Would be a big part of our rotation. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, how did the pulses fare this year?
They did okay. We had some green lentils that did better than expected, and then everything kind of did as expected, you know, as we thought they would. We had some chickpeas that did all right, maybe a little bit better than expected, but yeah.
Okay.
But overall, yeah, it's just one of those years. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. What would you say is, I mean, pulses aren't, I mean, for a huge part of Saskatchewan, very much a key part of the rotation, but for much of Canada, of course, not something that can be grown successfully. What would you say is some of the most challenging aspects of growing that many pulses in rotation?
Disease is usually the biggest one. I mean, so like with chickpeas, you know, there's always the worry of disease with them, but all of them that's kind of the main challenge. I mean, in a drier climate, they usually do better, right? So, but yeah, for us, it's disease is kind of always the main issue.
Mm-hmm. Is that like ascochyta? Do you worry about aphanomyces, or it hasn't been wet enough for that?
A little bit of both, just kind of depending on the year, right? And then I guess other than disease, weed control, because, you know, in a pulse, there's not as much options. You know, there's a lot of fall application that goes into that rotation, make sure that we have the clean fields, because, yeah, the end crop options are a lot more limited than, you know, you would say cereal, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. Well, and one of the things for sure is recropping restrictions, and also when it's really, really dry, those recropping restrictions can extend out more than a year even.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like 22 was one of those years where, because 21 was so dry, you know, the rotation had to change just based on, recropping restrictions and the worry for carryover. And we did see a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
There's a few fields just based on rotation. We we put the crop in, and you could see some carryover for sure. So, yeah.
All right. So I know a couple pulse growers, their least favorite pulse is lentil to grow. I don't know if you agree or disagree, but they have this love-hate relationship. Which one is your favorite of them to grow?
I would say peas if it wasn't for the root rot, but usually when you have a good pea crop, that's the worry, right? But they're usually fairly easy cutting, and first thing you're usually cutting a pea or a barley first. I would say peas would be my favorite for a pulse for sure. Yep.
Yep. And then, so how far do you have to haul? Where do your pulses go to?
Well, they can go anywhere because we, grow green lentils. They've gone anywhere from like Aberdeen all the way to Milestone, Regina. A lot of the green lentils get trucked a fair distance.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Yep.
Yeah. No, that's a ways.
But I mean, the reds, they usually stay local, and the peas, chickpeas, they might get trucked a little further too. But yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
This week's question. It's a bit of a head scratcher, maybe or maybe not. We are talking interest rates, which is everyone's favorite topic, obviously. So really going for the fun stuff this week. But if you had to take out a loan today, would you go variable or fixed? And if you say fixed, you have to say if you would go 1 year, 2 to 4, or 5.
I would go fixed, and I would say 5. Because at least you have that fixed price for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Variable, you could be locking in right away and then be in big trouble not too far in the future. So I would go fixed 5 years.
Okay.
Yep.
So I'll let you in on, because there's been a few that have gone before you. You guys are consistent. I'll tell you that much, which also means I think everybody is pretty sure rates are still headed higher. I think that's what I would go with that. Which is, again, the happiest conversation we could ever be having. So looking ahead, though.
Where's like your favorite trip to,
right?
What's your favorite place to travel?
Yeah. Do you boil or fry your pierogies? Like, these are the important things that people need to know. Those sorts of things. Okay. But actually, that's a great question for another week, but I'll ask you, what's your favorite, like when you do like a staycation not far from home, where's your favorite tourist trap to go to?
Well, it is south of the border, but I would say Whitefish, Montana.
Good call. Okay, I'm going to use that question in another week. So everybody pretend like you didn't hear me ask it. And next time I get to host the show, that's what I'm asking. Good for you. How far is that from where you are? It can't be that far, is it?
Be about 5.5 hours. Yeah.
Well, see, in Western Canadian terms, that's not that bad. That's Winnipeg to Regina.
That's a morning.
Yeah, it's a morning. You still have half a day when you get there. Yeah, it's really not bad. Yeah, okay, I like it. All right, DC, what's ahead for you this week, or this weekend? I guess it's a long weekend, apparently.
Well, finish up the durum and then get the canola done and call her a harvest.
Really? You're that close. That seems early.
Yes.
Which is not usually a good thing.
Well, yeah, we started August 1st, so we've been at her a month now.
Wow. Okay. Well, good luck to you then for, the week you have left. And then you can sit back while everybody else is still busy. So there you go. Well, I do hope you get some fall moisture. That would help.
Thank you. We do too.
Yeah, I would send it to you if I could. All right, DC, thanks so much for joining me today.
You bet. Take care, Lyndsey.
All right. I'll be back with more RealAg Radio right after this.
This year might bankrupt us. If I lose the farm, I'm letting down generations of my family. Why am I the only one who can't handle it? Maybe the farm would be better off without me. Hello?
Hey, I was just thinking about you and thought I'd say hi. I know it's been a hard season, and I wanted to see how you're holding up.
We might feel alone, but we're all in this together. Visit domore.ag for mental health supports tailored for the agriculture community.
Canola is more than just a pretty face in the prairie landscape. It's a big business, both here and around the world, that requires you to be informed and up to date on everything it takes to grow a successful crop. The Canola School on RealAgriculture.com has an expert library of video resources covering markets, agronomy, and more to help you grow a healthy and profitable canola crop. Visit canolaschool.com today. Brought to you by BASF Canada and Invigor Hybrid Canola.
Welcome back to Real Ag Radio here on this Thursday. It is the Farmer Rapid Fire brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada. And we have on the line Doug Moisey. He's the Central Alberta agronomist for Pioneer Seeds Canada. Doug, how are you?
Not bad, not bad. And yourself?
Well, I'm doing well. Now, you are busy in the field. Lots of scouting happening right now. And also plenty of questions rolling in. Definitely swathing multi-staged crops. What can you tell me?
Well, I think, first of all, the picture that has to be painted out there is that it's not going to be an easy decision. For a lot of guys, because of our June time period where we saw no rain, variability in soil moisture, I'm actually sitting beside a field right now that we've got stuff that's ready to swath and we've got stuff that's in flower still. So it's not going to be an easy call. But what we have to understand is that where the majority of yield is, and this might mean, and I know guys are going to be upset at me and they refuse to do it, but it might take that side-by-side and going across that field at an angle, creating those side-by-side tracks and going in and start assessing where's the yield at, what stage we're at, and kind of come up to a conclusion about what we need to do to maximize yield. Because right now, some guys are jumping the gun a little early, in my mind. And the whole idea is that we have to understand where the yield is. So I've told some guys, and I've been walking through with some of our customers, it's getting out there, let's look at the field, let's count pods on the main stem, let's count pods on the side branches, let's see where we're at for color change. Does this reflect a larger area, or does this minimalized? And again, we have some areas where, we're not, that stuff that's flowering, it's now August the 30th, it ain't making it. So let's not even worry about that, and let's just ignore that. Let's just move on. So to me, it's getting into those areas where we think the majority yield is, and this is where it's just not going to be, as I call it, the 2x60 window take. Drive by at 60 miles an hour, roll down both windows, say, we're a week away. No, it's getting out there and start assessing. One thing you're going to see this year is because of the variable emergence and the way things have really progressed as far as rain happening during flowering time, we're going to have a little bit different staging within the crop. And so my attitude is, especially on a branched product or a branched plant stand, where you've got more than 2 or 3 branches and where the yield is actually on those branches, just ignore your main stem. We're trying to capture where your yield is. Yes, we'd like to keep the main stem, but you may be in a point where that you're going to have 100% seed color change on the main stem and the side branches are now starting to show color. Again, taking into account swathing power, how many acres a day you can do, how many acres are going. So there's a lot of little factors. And so my suggestion to a lot of guys is that the longer you can wait, the better to maximize yield. But there is a breaking point where you just finally have to say, I have to go, but make sure you're doing it with a good judgment of your fields. So, like I said, it's not an easy process. It's a long process, and it's going to take more than 10 minutes to look in a field. It's going across that field and just assessing different areas. In my younger days, when with my longer legs, I was able to walk across those fields. Not this year.
Right.
It's too tall.
So get on that side by side. Get going.
Get on that side by side. Use it what it was meant for.
There you go.
And I know some guys will say, no, I'm not. But in reality, the amount of damage that side by side is going to do going at a 45-degree angle across the field is not going to do much harm, especially if I can swath it at the right stage and make that decision. I'll more than make up in yield. The nice thing about it is, I will say, is that because a lot of the products out there today, our products increased shatter score over what we used to have 15 years ago. Swathing on the later side is not as big of an issue as it used to be. Right. And so, to me, it's that, understanding what you can get away with and what. But my attitude is, if I see the odd pod flying off while I'm swathing and it's feeding through my swather nicely, I probably hit it at the right stage. So For me, side branches, seeds firm to roll, maybe even some color change in your primary branches. Those upper seeds, you're firm to roll, no onion skin, so there's no flaking. You might even see the odd little black speck. And with the cooler conditions starting this weekend, life should be pretty simple going forward. Not really simple, but it should make it a lot easier to make that decision to go or not.
Mm-hmm. Now, you are seeing a couple things in the field. You did want to touch on some disease pressure for sure. Yeah. What are you seeing?
Yes. Well, right now I'm seeing alternaria, a little bit of alternaria showing up, but we're also seeing powdery mildew. We've got a lot of questions here in the last couple of days. Basically, it's called powdery mildew. It basically turns your canola starting to turn white. Has no effect on yield, but if you have a red or a green swather, it is going to turn white on you. It really has no effect. The other one is sclerotinia, and there's some guys that are making decisions on straight cutting, and because of the conditions we've had the last little while with good moisture and relatively warmer conditions, there is sclerotinia showing up, and so that decision to straight cut, really look hard. How much sclerotinia do you have? Because we're seeing it in some fields, 10%, maybe more. My concern will be that if we do get extended warm weather, will it transfer down from plant to plant to plant? And so we might see that sclerotinia actually transfer farther and farther into that field if conditions stay where they are. So it's that time to make the decision, is that do I straight cut or do I swap? And if I am going to straight cut a field that does have a lot of sclerotinia, I should be prepared to go when that field's ready. Mm-hmm. So those are the ones that, that are happening right now. Haven't seen much clubroot except earlier. The clubroot is more in fields where we're seeing race shift happening in known clubroot areas. And, of course, that's changing the game. You're not going to be straight cutting. You probably are going to be swathing. But it's a message just basically it's time to switch up your clubroot resistant packaging. Mm-hmm. So, but from my mind, this is the time that we start scouting. Let's go look at that dead patch and see where the problem is. Is it sclerotinia? Is it gray stem? Is it clubroot? Is it verticillium? And verticillium is a little more prevalent in the eastern country and parts of Saskatchewan, I've been told. But in Alberta, there is concern about verticillium, so we're monitoring for that. But gray stem is showing up in big abundance that guys are thinking is verticillium, but it's actually gray stem. And it's just a year for diseases thanks to the late season moisture we've had.
Mm-hmm. And definitely that key point is that this is a great time. If you've got dead patches, you need to figure out what they are. So get out there and check it out.
For sure. The other thing I'd probably add to that too, though, is that on top of the dead patches, is that when you're swathing or after you're done swathing or if you're planning on straight cutting, is also getting out and doing and taking a look at what you had for plant stands this year. It really sets the stage for next year. What did you get for survivability? How can you adjust your seeding rate? We've had some customers that had, 90% survivability the last couple of years. They got way too many plants. And so the whole idea is we still want that sweet spot of 6 to 7 at harvest time, again, depending on moisture and location. Some guys go to 5, but the whole idea is to find that sweet spot and just figure out what's happening. If you find that you're a little on the low side, 3-4, okay, what do I need to do to change to improve that? Is it weather related or is there some other things? But the whole idea is to get those harvest plant counts in, and that gives you a better setup for next year.
Mm-hmm. That's your homework, everybody. Get on out there and get it done.
Homework.
That's your homework. All right. Doug, thank you so much for joining me on the show today.
Yes, right on. Thanks. You have a great day.
And with that, we wrap up another edition of the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada here on RealAg Radio. It has been my absolute pleasure to be your host today. I am Lyndsey Smith. If you've got any feedback on today's show, you can head on over to social media at RealAgriculture. You can DM us there. You can send us a message. You can answer. You can use the hashtag RealAg Radio. We'll find you. Or if you'd like, you can call that feedback line 1-855-776-6147. Or, of course, zip me an email, lsmith@realagriculture.com. I will be back tomorrow with the issues panel and the beef market update. So tune in tomorrow, 4:30 Eastern, right here on Rural Radio. Cheers, everybody.